Hey everybody, I'm back for another English video, little walkthrough here. Today what I'm going to do is go through the page 252 and 253 of the book, and we're just going to kind of go through that together. If you want to just watch, that's fine. And then you're going to do the workbook on your own today, okay? So we're going to look through a couple little bits here of our adjectives versus adverbs, okay? So yesterday, hopefully you got a little feel for adverbs and how those work. And today we're going to look at the difference between adjectives and adverbs. So what we're going to look at here, the difference between these, remember adverbs describe verbs, adjectives describe nouns or pronouns. So it says many adverbs are formed by adding ly, which we talked about yesterday, to an adjective. So these words look similar and are easy to confuse. So we could have the word clear as an adjective. It might describe a glass bottle. The glass bottle is clear. That would be an adjective. But when we want to use it as an adverb, we want to write it with an ly ending. So Robert writes clearly would be the correct way to write that adverb, okay? So Robert writes clearly is correct. That's the way to do that, okay? Other parts here, it says, remember to use an adjective to describe a noun or pronoun. Use an adverb to describe a verb. So here we might use similar words like quick. We might say Lee made quick moves. Lee made quick moves. Quick in this case describes the moves. He makes quick moves. You might have a similar sentence that says, like this one, she moves quickly. Here, quickly describes how she moves. So again, moves would be the action verb, the action that takes place. In this case, the moves are like saying the movements that a person makes. Like right now, I'm making some moves. Or if she moves, that's describing the action, okay? So there's that as well. Again, a few things. That's why these are a little tricky, so I want to kind of talk through it with you. The words good and well are also often confused. Good is always an adjective. And we're going to use good before a noun or after a linking verb. Keep in mind, when we talk about verbs, we need to think about action verbs for adverbs. We're not going to use good when you mean healthy as another sort of example. But here we have Sam has a good vocabulary. Here, good is describing the vocabulary. It's a good vocabulary. We have another sentence here. Notice this one. His stories are good. Good is describing the stories. And notice here that the action, it's not an action verb, it's a linking verb. It's telling us about the stories. Okay, so good describes the stories, and stories would be nouns. So that means good is an adjective. Okay, so again, this is where it's like real close, kind of tricky to tell a difference sometimes. Other examples where we would use well. Use well as an adverb to describe a verb. Use it as an adjective to mean healthy. So well can be an adverb or an adjective. Good is always going to be an adjective. So in this case, Sam describes buildings well. Describes would be our action, the thing Sam does, and how he does it as well. Remember, adverbs will tell how, when, or where. Here it describes how he tells how he describes the building. So he does it well, okay? Another one, Todd ate too fast, so he is not well now. In this case, well is an adjective describing he. In that case, so it can be like that. So just keep in mind, good is always an adjective. Well is usually an adverb, but can be an adjective too, okay? So down here, let's go through, and I've made a couple little things, little hints to keep in mind. Kind of made this for myself too, to keep in mind too, okay? So as we look through, it says which word, again, if you want to just watch the video and kind of practice this with me, it's fine. If you want to write it down because you're in the habit, that's great. The stuff you'll turn in for me online is going to be from the workbook though, okay? So here it says, which word in parentheses correctly completes each sentence? Which word does it describe? Okay, so let's talk about that. Here it says the ballet company, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The ballet company performed well, is what we want to say. We might say good, but here we need to think about that idea about, remember over here I said good is an adjective, well is an adverb. In this case, we're describing how they perform. So what I'll do is this, I'll put a box around the verb performed, and this is well is telling how they performed. Okay, they performed well. Again, sometimes, like we said before on some of our other grammar things, the way we speak, we might say the ballet company performed good if we're just sort of talking casually. But the proper term, the proper usage there, the right grammar would be to say they performed well. Again, well, keep in mind, well is an adverb. Good is always an adjective. So since we're telling about how they performed, that's an adverb, so we need to use well, okay? The dancer's movements were what? Graceful or gracefully. Here, what we're describing is the movements, and in this case, the movements, that's a noun. Things they are doing, those are things. So we're going to use the adjective graceful, okay? Notice here, were is a linking verb, not an action. So again, over here, keep in mind adverbs describe action verbs. The adverb would be gracefully. Remember, ly makes it an adverb. But in this case, we want to use graceful to describe the movements, okay? All right, how about the next one? The star ballerina spun blank on her toes. We're going to use a word that describes how she spun. So do we want to say rapid or rapidly? Which one would be, since this is a verb, an action verb, we need to use the adverb to describe that, which means ly. So we're going to say rapidly. It tells how she spun. Okay, so again, notice there you can kind of connect what word am I describing? Do I have an action verb or a linking verb? In this case, our action, we're describing the action. So we need to use the adverb form rapidly. Okay. How about our next one? The audience clapped loudly at the end, loud or loudly. See, I got ahead of myself there. Here we're describing how the audience clapped. Are we going to say they clapped loud, or are we going to say they clapped loudly? Again, might sound kind of similar, but we're describing the action that takes place. We're describing the verb. How they clapped would be loudly. That's the word that we want to use there. Okay, so there's our first example of what's going on with the first part of the page. I am going to go ahead and maybe go through just a few of these. We don't have to do the whole thing, but let's maybe go and look through what we've got on this next part. Okay, let's see. I'll make my lines a little easier. Come red. Here it says write the adjective or the adverb in parentheses that correctly completes each sentence, then write the word or words that it describes. So here it says James is carving a wooden lion carefully, would be the word. And that describes how he is carving. Okay, so again, carving is the action that's taking place. It's what he's doing. Okay, his expert or expertly skill is the result of experience. Well, what this word is describing is the skill. So what is skill? Is that a verb or an adjective? Well, we might think, well, here we have a linking verb is. In this case, skill is a thing. It's a thing that he has. So it's his expert skill. We're going to use the adjective form to describe the noun. Okay, there we go for that. 6, James cut the wood good or well. Well, what are we describing? We're telling how he cut the wood. Cut, in this case, is a verb, an action. So we need to use the adverb forms. Remember which one's always going to be an adverb. Remember, good is always an adjective. We're going to say he cut the wood well. Okay, there we go. The lion took shape slowly. We're talking here about carving or whittling a lion. So it took shape, meaning this is going to be our word we're describing, took shape. How did it take shape? Here we're describing an action verb. So we're going to use the adverb version. Adjective, slow can be an adjective. Slowly would be the adverb. Okay, so the lion took shape slowly. All right. Here's another good example. The surface of the wood was smooth or smoothly. Think about what would this word be describing. One clue we have here is a linking verb, not an action. We're talking about the surface of the wood. So we have the surface. What word would tell about the surface? We would say the surface of the wood was smooth. Okay, so there's that. Again, here we have the adjective describing the noun, the surface. Okay. All right, how about the last one? The finished statue looked good or looked well. Well, let's think. In this case, looked is what kind of verb? Looked in this case is a linking verb. We might look out a window. We talked about this early in the year, and this is where some linking verbs can get a little tricky. We might look out the window, which would describe an action that we have. But in this case, looked is telling us about the statue. It looked good or well. Which one would it be? Okay, so in this case, hey, here's a clue. This is a linking verb, okay? So we're actually not describing that word. We're describing the finished statue and how it looked. Again, how it appeared, how it was, or how it is, okay? So looked is a linking verb. we're describing statue, which means we need the adjective. So remember which one is always an adjective? That's going to be good. Okay, so the finished statue looked good. Okay, that's where we need to do that here. Now you might understand why I wanted to put these videos together. Adverbs and adjectives are like tricky for me too, right? So I had to actually study a little bit before I started making this video, and hopefully I did it all right. But again, you can kind of see. So I've kind of gone through and done the parts that I wanted to do with this. I really just wanted you to watch today and do this part with me. Now what you've got is page 125 in the workbook to complete. Okay, so for the form you'll turn in to me, that's going to include some of the questions from the workbook, page 125, okay? So if you need to rewatch the video, you might see some examples in the workbook page that it might be helpful to go back and look at some similar examples we had in our video we just did here. But again, hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, adjectives, adverbs, there's really almost a fine line sometimes where you have to really think through and take your time with it, okay? So again, I hope this video was helpful. I know there's a lot of little details that are easy to get on the wrong track here, but hopefully this was good. And I hope you do a good job on the adjectives and adverbs on the workbook 125. If you need to check in with me for my Zoom office hours, 11:30 to noon, happy to help you if there's anything tripping you up. Other than that, I'm going to let you guys go, okay? So again, make sure after you complete this, you're also going to fill out the form online and just take some of those answers you've got on the paper and put those online to submit to me, okay? That's the way we're doing it. Appreciate you guys working on that stuff. Go GA. Have a great weekend. Actually, it's only Tuesday. I'm recording these videos a little bit the week before, so I forgot this is actually just your Tuesday work. So have a good weekend in a few days and do good on the other stuff you're getting into now, okay? All right, I'll let you guys go. Good luck on the rest, and I'll look forward to seeing these turned in online. Thanks, guys.